She felt she was invisible, just the daughter of a cleaner going about her life quietly in a world that hardly saw her. But on one harsh afternoon, her dignity was taken away, not by strangers, but by someone who thought money gave them influence over her own life. What transpired in that mansion corridor was beyond humiliation. It was a reflection of the bias many live with in silence. But when a secret witness came forward, everything changed. The question is, changed for whom? Amara was accustomed to existing in the shadows. Daughter of a maid, she spent half a day sitting silently as her mother polished silver and cleaned marble floors in a mansion that never quite felt like a home. Schoolbooks balanced on her knees, headphones pressed against her ears, she discovered how to keep small, inconsequential, in the background of a world designed for others. But even in quiet, she bore dreams. Dreams of a life better than the shiny floors her mother kneeled on. And though the household her mother served smiled kindly, Amara knew the dividing line between them was always present, keen and unwritten. Nevertheless, nothing prepared her for the day her line would be crossed so callously. Nothing prepared her for the day she'd learn just how heartless privilege could be when directed against her. The house was always chilly on Saturdays. That was when the visitors came. The rich friends with fancy cars, perfect laughs, and eyes that looked over the house as if its walls were indicators of might. Amara despised those afternoons. She wasn't allowed to be noticed, only hidden in the study while her mother worked twice as hard to keep the house clean. But this afternoon, her headphones slipped, and curiosity overcame her. She walked towards the stairs, holding her book close, hoping no one would catch her in the act. That's when she overheard it. The sudden tone of the millionaire's wife. Initially, Amara believed the woman was addressing her mother. But then the phrases cut more sharply, deeper. "Why are you here? Who allowed you to stand in this hallway?" The air clotted around her. Amara's voice was trapped in her throat. She hadn't done anything, just stood there, on the carpet she wasn't allowed to dirty with her presence. The lips of the wife curled as she approached. She did not view Amara as a child, did not view her as belonging. She viewed her as something foreign, an intruder in a world too refined for her flesh. And with each spoken word, the put-downs grew meaner, pulling Amara's dignity down like dirt on clean marble. Her mother wasn't around to protect her. The workers turned away, not wanting to get involved. And Amara, her book clutched so tightly her knuckles turned white, struggled not to cry, struggled not to let the woman see her cry. But humiliation has a tendency to resound louder when no one dares to protest. Every distant laugh, every ring of champagne glasses from the dining room sounded as though joining in on the chorus of silence. It wasn't one woman's cruelty. It was the collective crushing of an entire system telling Amara she didn't belong. And then the turning point. The millionaire himself stepped into view at the top of the stairs. His pace was deliberate, slow, as if gauging the sight in front of him. The wife, assertive, didn't hesitate. She spoke louder, pointing at Amara as if she were an intruder in her own mother's office. For one moment, Amara believed this man would get in on it, that his quietness was just another kind of cruelty. She steeled herself for it, because that's the way it had always happened. The strong look out for their own, and children like her get left with wounds that never scar. But his face wasn't hers. His eyes narrowed, his jaw clenched. Something in his eyes changed, as if a storm gathering behind clear skies. He didn't budge immediately, and that silence was intolerable. Was he mad at Amara for standing there, or mad at the woman who had shamed her? In that paused moment, the house itself appeared to be holding its breath. The wife stood up straight, anticipating her husband's okay. Amara's heart beat furiously, wondering if she would be rebuked for being in a place she didn't belong. What followed would not only break the silence of that corridor, but would leave every guest, every servant, and every member of his family speechless. Because the choice he made in that moment wasn't really about his wife or about Amara. It was about revealing a truth that could no longer be concealed. The room fell silent as the millionaire came down the stairs, his gaze fixed on his wife and then Amara. All the guests' laughter hung in the air, champagne glasses suspended in mid-air. For an instant, it was as if the air itself had thickened. No one dared take a breath. The wife, sure of herself, pointed aggressively toward Amara. "This child does not belong," she snarled, her words echoing through the marble hallway. "She is nothing but the cleaner's daughter, bringing dirt where it should not go." Her words were like glass, slicing apart what little dignity Amara had remaining. Amara wished to disappear, to dissolve into the floor, but her shaking hands betrayed her. She could sense each eye boring into her, judging her, affirming what the wife had pronounced. For a chilling instant, she thought it too, that she was nothing. Then came the unexpected moment. The millionaire's deep but fierce voice shattered the silence. "Enough!" The word pierced deeper than a scream. Guests looked at each other in shock. The wife stiffened, her confidence shattering. But he wasn't done. His eyes flamed as he turned to his guests, to the servants, to all those who had stood there mute. "Look at her," he spat, gesturing toward Amara. "Tell me, what do you see?" "Because I see a child being shamed in my house, and I will not tolerate it." Gasps spread through the assembly. The wife's face went pale, her haughtiness crumbling under the force of his words. Amara's heart thudded, caught between shock and elation. For the first time, someone in power had not looked away. But challenged power doesn't lie down easily. The wife's voice, now shaking, rose again. "You would shame me. For her." And in that moment, the decision became more than a union, more than a domestic disagreement. It became a line drawn in the sand, a stand against bigotry in the face of every onlooker. The mansion, once so sleek, had been transformed into a war zone. And everyone in attendance knew, whatever came next would alter everything. The wife's words never regained their impact. The silence following her husband's stand was more deafening than any tantrum she could have thrown. Guests shunned her eyes, servants shared mute glances, and Amara, frightened yet, experienced a change she'd never known before. Someone had chosen to notice her, to stand up for her when the world asked her to disappear. The experience did not take away the stinging shame. It did not reverse years of hushed insults, of reminders she was less than. But in that instant, Amara discovered something strong. Silence is not the only answer. That dignity can be reclaimed when words are told, even in the most fearful environments. The millionaire's stand rippled far beyond his marble halls. Some guests left in anger, muttering that he had embarrassed his own wife. Others, quiet but shaken, carried away a memory they couldn't dismiss. The sight of a child being defended against cruelty when everyone else had turned away. And Amara? She bore the wound and the lesson. That day marked her, yes, but it ignited a spark, a refusal to be made invisible again. She knew that she was never worth less than the hands that sought to push her down. But her tale is not an isolated one. Throughout neighborhoods, classrooms, workplaces, and homes, there are countless others who suffer the same sharp words, the same empty rooms, the same struggle for dignity. It isn't that we don't know injustice when it happens before our eyes. It does. We hear it. We live it. The question is, when we witness it, will we turn away? Or will we too find the courage to say enough